All right, a few Cardinals notes for you. We mentioned Steven Matz. We want to just put a point on it again because we talked about it much earlier in the show. He 6 innings for the win Saturday was outstanding. He allowed only 1 run in 6 innings. He had strikeouts, a couple jams he got out of it, making great pitches. He's got a 0.95 ERA in his last 3 starts. Since returning to the rotation in July 9th, he's got a 1.65 ERA in 6 starts. He's getting swings and misses by pitching up with his fastball in the zone, and the hitters haven't been able to handle it. It's really, really, really effective, and then he offsets that by throwing more changeups than he had been when he gets ahead in the count. He's getting a lot more foul balls and swings and misses that way when he throws the change ahead in the count. And his curve has been an effective third pitch, kind of neutralizes hitters. They're not expecting it necessarily, and they're a little off balance. He's getting a lot of ground balls and a lot of swinging strikes with the curve. He had overall, no matter what kind of pitch he threw, he had 15 swinging strikes against the Rockies on Saturday. So what he's doing is exciting. Wilson Contreras, the hits keep coming. Since June the 25th, 96 plate appearances, he's hit 405, 500 on base, 633 slug. His OPS is 1.133. That OPS ranks 6th in the majors since June the 25th, and since that day he's tied for the lead among MLB catchers with 1.5 wins above replacement. So he's been as valuable as any catcher in the majors since June the 25th after settling in, gaining his confidence, his equilibrium. This season he ranks first at the position in batting average, on base percentage, slugging, OPS, and weighted runs created plus. Based on weighted runs created plus, WRC plus, 112% above the league average since June 25th. He's 19 when he's used specifically at catchers this year. At catcher, he's 19% above the league average. So that's more good on him, and there's a lot more of that to come. And I think we can expect really, really good things going forward. Still having a problem with blocking and framing. He's always had that. And for a long time, the Cubs, because they had a good team, where it doesn't matter kind of if your catcher's not the greatest defensively, you can still win if you have a good team. And he's also, if he's a good hitter, and we've learned, it's being reaffirmed that he's a good hitter. Tracking Jordan Walker since June the 20th. That's when he maxed out. He had an 850 OPS. 135 plate appearances since then. He's hitting 216, and his OPS is 618. I hope that he can get on a nice roll till the end of the season, because he's been leveling off. Much respect always for Paul Goldschmidt. He had 5 hits against the Rockies in 3 games, and even with some other issues, we should never forget that in the second half of the season, since the All-Star break, he's got a 389 batting average with runners in scoring position. So he's got such value to the Cardinals. Excellent defensively. But compared to the first half of the season, since the All-Star break, he's slugging only 379. He's only 5% above the league average offensively per weighted runs created plus. So he's been he hadn't been playing Powerball as much in the second half. It could mean nothing because the second half ain't that old, or it could mean something. I think at his age, you always on the lookout for some things. Zach Thompson impressed against the Rockies Sunday, 4 innings, striking out 8, allowing 1 run. The curveball was fantastic. It's obvious that the talent is there. It's a shame the Cardinals wasted so much time while trying to determine whether he's a starter or a reliever. Oh, he's a starter. No, he's a reliever. Oh, he's a starter. No, he's a reliever. Well, we think he's a starter. No, he's a reliever. It's just ridiculous the way that they have stunted his growth instead of putting him in a starting pitching role when they need starting pitching more than anything. Remember when the Cardinals went to Wrigley Field in July and they beat the Cubs 7-2 in a series opener? It was played July 20th. That's a Thursday night. At that point, the 4th-place Cardinals were only a game and a half after winning that opener of a 4-game series at Wrigley. They were only a game and a half behind the 3rd-place Cubs in the Central standings. But since that night, the Cubs are 6-1 against the Cardinals, and they have MLB's best record of 13-3 since July the 21st. The Cardinals, on the other hand, where the Cubs were going 13-3 since that loss on that Thursday night, the Cubs are 13-3. The Cardinals are 5-11. And now the Cardinals are, where are they? They're behind the Cubs by quite a bit. And they were close. I remember people were talking about, Bally, that's all they talk about. Well, the boys can leave here in third place ahead of the Cubs. That's the way it's going. Oh, yeah. I expect them to. What do you mean they could? Chip, I expect them to. That kind of thing. No. They lost the final 3 games of the season, and if you look at where they are now, let me do my computations. The Cardinals are back in last place. By the way, they're 2 games behind the Pirates, who are 4th. Remember when they pulled ahead of the Pirates? Looked like they were going to really pull away from them. No, they're now 2 games back of the Pirates. The Cardinals are 9 and 10. The Cardinals are 9.5 games behind the Cubs now. Well, I tell you what, by the time the boys leave here in Wrigley Field, they're going to be ahead of the Cubs. No. Know thy team.
So long ago.
I will say this: at that time, they had won 6 in a row. So people, even me, I was falling into it a little bit. It's like, well, they're playing good ball. Let's see how far they can go with this. But a lot of things are going well. That I was doing that kind of thing. I admit it. All right, what? What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing because I was going to say, yeah, I was too, because I still kind of say from time to time when I go, they really can't be this bad, can they? Well, they just went downhill, and yeah, they are that bad this year. They're just that bad.
Couple minor league notes. Mason Wynn left yesterday's game at Memphis, or I don't know where they were playing, but for Memphis. He had a mild glute strain. He was shaken up, or he was discomfort. Discomfort set in the 6th inning. He hit a base awkwardly. And, the dugout staff, and I think Wynn agreed, it was the safe and the smart thing to do is get him out of the game. His glute strain is considered minor at this time. We'll see about that, and he's considered day to day. So hopefully this will not be too long of a physical setback. At least they got him out of there right away. So that'll slow his momentum. Cardinals don't want to bring him up yet anyway, because, of course, they're convinced he's going to win Rookie of the Year, so they'll get a draft pick. Yeah, just like Jordan Walker was, right? Mm-hmm. Mason Wynn's more prepared for the majors than Jordan Walker was, though. So I'm gonna end my sarcasm there. Another minor league note, and I'm going to present this in a question form. Over the weekend, Luken Baker just kept hitting home runs. Had a 2-home-run game. He's up to 31 home runs, the most by any hitter in the minors. At least that was the case through last night. For the season, Baker's hitting .337. That's great. 442 on base percentage. That's really great. And a 721 slug. That's really, really, really great. Listen, I know he's limited to DH and first base. He ain't an outfielder. But he's only had 20 plate appearances for the Cardinals this season, which hardly constitutes an opportunity. Pinch hit here, pinch hit there, occasional start. 20 plate appearances, that's all. And he is such an imposing figure when you actually let him play and just do his thing. And, yeah, I do know there's a pretty big difference between AAA and the majors, but the Cardinals are out of the postseason hunt. And this is a good time to give Luken Baker a more extensive audition in the majors. And listen, no, he's not going to take over first base for Goldie, but you could spot him in there. But this is why you have a DH. And you don't have to use the DH all the time for guys that Ali has been using the DH for. Wilson Contreras is a catcher. Let him catch. Goldie's a first baseman. Arenado's a third baseman. Let them play their positions. You don't have to always move them to DH. That's not a day off anyway. Nolan Gorman continues to delight with the obvious improvement he's made defensively. He doesn't need to play DH. He can play second base because he's actually an asset defensively. So if you're not going to bring up this kid and let him eat for a while with nothing on the line for the Cardinals, you're going to do that for a 42-year-old starting pitcher. But a guy that is tearing it up like this with awesome power, and if you don't give him a chance, you do the Randy Arozarena thing all over again. How are you going to feel if he goes somewhere else and it's just like he does kind of like the Luke Voit thing, like when I'm talking about Luke Voit for the Yankees for the first couple of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
How dumb would these people feel again for not giving a guy a chance? Now, if something was on the line, well, then you have to look at things differently. And I'm not saying it's spring training now, but my goodness, there's nothing at stake. Let him have a legit major league opportunity before you give up on him and he starts hitting home runs for someone else in the big leagues. And it's not like he's a one-trick pony. The guy draws walks. He hits for a high average. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? I don't know. Log jams. Always the log jam.
He at least deserves that opportunity.
Yeah, and they create these log jams, and not only is it hard to get at-bats for everybody involved in the log jam, some harder than others to get at-bats, but then you have a guy like Baker who will not get an opportunity because of this never-ending log jam, and even when they thin it out a little bit, they create another one. Somebody might be saying, well, won't they do that if they bring up Baker? No. Because you have found out about a lot of these guys, and a lot of these guys in a positive way, like Alec Burleson. It's okay to have Baker taking some turns, a regular turn at DH. There's nothing harmful about that. Your log jams are going to be there anyway. Just move him up in the log jam line and let him take some swings. You got to give him more than 20 plate appearances.
Texter sends in, Bertie, Luken Baker feels like a Milwaukee Brewer next year.
Ain't that the truth? Right?
Yeah.
All right, final Cardinal note. Let's check in on the former Cardinals. This will make the haters happy. Here you go. See, big man here. He takes care of the haters even. Haters need some positive attention and reinforcement too. Paul DeYoung for the Blue Jays, 2 for 27 strikeouts. Go ahead. You can dance a little.
They're dancing.
Haters, you can dance a little. Jack Flaherty, as we know, won his first start for the Orioles to clinch a 3-1 series win at Toronto. He gave up 1 run in 4 hits in 6 innings, struck out 33% of the batters faced. He also I checked this out. I didn't find it to be quite as true, but someone who looks pretty sharp that writes an Orioles blog said that they changed Jack Flaherty's use of the cutter, and he threw more cutters. I didn't see that. I didn't see that he threw more cutters. But apparently someone who follows that team that's got a good analytical mind as far as recognizing things thinks that they're going to get Jack Flaherty to throw the cutter more often. So keep an eye on that. First appearance as a Blue Jay, Jordan Hicks was tagged for 2 runs, but he's followed up on that with 2.5 scoreless innings in his next 2 relief assignments. The 2-run thing's not a big deal. Genesis Cabrera, 7 appearances already for the Blue Jays. 7 appearances, 7 1/3 innings. His ERA is 3.68, but a little bit misleading because he gave up 3 runs in his first appearance as a Blue Jay. I think it was first, might have been second. In 6 of his 7 relief shifts, he's only given up a run in one. Well, excuse me, he's held the other side scoreless in 6 of his 7 relief assignments. Jordan Montgomery did his part to keep the Rangers rolling. Friday night, he pitched 6 innings. He allowed 2 runs, 6 hits, 6 strikeouts. That was your basic 100% Jordan Montgomery outing right there, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And they beat the Marlins 6-2. The Rangers, through yesterday, had won 6 in a row. The Astros are hanging close, 2.5 games out, but you can forget about Seattle and the Angels as far as competing for a division title. You know who's been great among those traded at the deadline? Chris Stratton. You know he's my boy. I always used to talk him up. The Rangers wanted him for a reason, and they're thrilled. They've read some positive comments. They're thrilled with what he's been able to do so far. He's already had 4 appearances for the Rangers. 4 2/3 innings. He struck out 6 and held opponents to a 188 batting average. Way to go, Chris Stratton. Always underrated and overlooked here in St. Louis. You got guys who can pitch anytime you want them to pitch, and pretty damn good. They'll have the occasional hiccup, but pretty damn good, pretty damn consistent. That's a guy worth trading for. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Former pitching coach thought he was worth something. You can guarantee he had something to say about, hey, why don't you go get this guy out of there?
I don't think there's any doubt about it.
You know, because I remember when he first got here last year, his first outing was a little rough, and then he got some things straightened out.
That's right.
You can guarantee Maddox had a big part in getting him straightened out.
That's right. That's right. So free Luken Baker is my message for today.
I like it. I like what the texter said, too. It definitely feels like he'll be looking for a job in the winter, and the Brewers will say, we need a first baseman that can hit. We'll find you a spot.
Yeah.
We'll be going, oh, Luken Baker's eating the Central alive. Oh, great. Another guy that got away.
What time, man? It's 5:43. This show, I'm not complaining because Mondays sometimes, just because they're Mondays, can kind of drag a little bit.
Do have a question from the text
This thing's
line.
been going fast. Anyway, yeah, what do you got?
And this is, texter says, I know the Cardinals said no, but Bernie, would you have explored trading Paul Goldschmidt?
No. I wouldn't have. Because I believe them when they say they're going to try to win in 2024, and Paul Goldschmidt's got to be a part of that. It's as simple as that. Now, there's room for disagreement, so I don't slam anybody who thinks they should have entertained offers. But no, I was fine with them not doing that. I don't think he wanted to do that anyway. He's got a no-trade clause. I think he loves it here and he wants to finish his career here. That matters. So these things are easier said than done when you give no trade protection to a star player.
One of your notes that I thought was that I'm really interested to see how they played himself out is on Genesis Cabrera, because I want to see how he does up there. Because all of a sudden, I know the Cardinal organization it got sour on him, but if he decides to start pitching like he has other than that first outing, and he's healthy and he's a left-hander and he can throw 90 miles an hour, I'm going to be like, you guys need to figure out a way to work with players better.
Yeah, Ali Marmol got down on him. He never forgave him for that. Listen, it was a Bush League thing, too.
It was.
Last season, Cabrera showed the manager up on the mound, and you saw Albert Pujols lecturing Cabrera in the dugout about that. But Ali, who's a lot more insecure than people want to admit, yeah, that was it. His time in St. Louis was done after that. It's just a matter of time. So, it all depends on Ali how he feels about you. Now it's kind of funny to me that he's the president of the Tyler O'Neill fan club, or something. Even to the point where he was playing along with Ben Hockman in the Post-Dispatch when Ben tried to give them the excuse that, hey, is the WBC part of the reason why this team's so bad this year? I love Ben, but I kind of was like, oh, please. I like you, man. Don't do this. Don't give these people an excuse. They've been playing the damn WBC card all season. Don't do it. But Marmol actually said, like, well, look at Tyler O'Neill. He left camp, played at WBC, and, we weren't sure about him center field because we didn't see him enough in spring training. Well, that's your fault then, number one. And number two, he wasn't at the WBC very long because Canada got knocked out, like, in the first round.
It didn't last long, you're right.
So why are we making excuses for this? And if you thought the WBC was a factor with him, why did you jump him all over him 2 days in a row in the second series of the season? But yet we got people like wanting to like give the Cardinals some protection because of the WBC. Well, Miles Michaelis had a bad first month. Yeah, he had a really good May. So once he had a really good May, it was a great May. Why does he have an ERA well over 4? It's like 4.40 or something since the start of June. What the hell does the WBC have to do with that? What does the WBC have to do with Wainwright other than the fact that he hurt himself while he was there, but it wasn't going to matter anyway? This is what concerns me about Cardinals baseball. These people are so quick. Anything that the media wants to throw them for an excuse, they grab it, man. They grab it, they'll take it. It's shameless. It's shameful and shameless. Really disappointing to me. Cardinals are off tonight. They open a 3-game series at Tampa Bay beginning tomorrow night. And they're running into a team that's, first of all, damn good, but a team that's also trying to keep pace with the Orioles, who've opened up a 3-game lead in the AL East. The Orioles they had another great weekend sweeping the Mets. And on Saturday, it was pretty cool. They brought back the 1983 World Series champions. A big delegation from that team. 40-year anniversary of them winning the World Series. It's pretty cool. So anyway,
I like that team. That was a good team.
It was. I mean, man, you had first of all, you had 3 Hall of Famers on that team: Cal Ripken Jr., Eddie Murray, and Jim Palmer. Right? You had some other really, really good players. And a lot of them appear to be doing pretty well as far as health. Some people didn't show up, maybe because of age, maybe because of health issues, family problems, or whatever it may be. But it was good to see it. I watched the pregame ceremony because I thought it was pretty cool. And I covered it. I covered that team in spring training. The football writer, excuse me, let me dial this back. The baseball writer in the spring of '83. Was playing pickup basketball and just shredded his knee to the point where there's like a really serious surgery had to be performed. I mean, he messed everything up. And so the editor called me and said, well, you're down there helping him out, but you got to take over the beat. I said, I'm not ready for that. What are you talking about? It's like 1983. I said, I'm not. I had a rough spring. I've told those stories. I won't repeat them. Getting hollered at, really hollered at by Frank Robinson, getting hollered at by Eddie Murray, just that kind of thing, just right. On and on and on. So I covered that team pretty much up until opening day, or very soon before opening day, and also would hop in and do, sidebar stories, things like that. So I covered a lot of those guys. Kenny Singleton, wrote columns about him. Dennis Martinez wrote columns about him. Jim Palmer. I mean, on and on and on. So it's kind of fun to see them. Anyway. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jim.
You just jogged my. I'm going to tell you something. This is just happenstance, but you mentioned Ken Singleton. I kid you not. Today, I just happened to go across his numbers, and I went, wow, I forgot how good of a player he was for a period of time. He was a really nice player for those Orioles teams, and probably he's not Hall of Fame, but he was a really good middle-of-the-order bat.
Excellent, yeah. Drew a lot of walks, too.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And for a guy with a lot of strength, hit home runs, he'd be very happy to go opposite field. He's really, really good. By the way, I texted, I always say texted, but it's basically Twitter's version of a text. I sent a message to Jim Palmer about Jim Flaherty and also the 40-year anniversary. I swear to God, Saturday night when the game's still going on and he's up in a suite with all his former teammates, right?
Yep.
And he's having a good time. I'm sure he got into the wine a little bit because he loves wine. He actually sends me a direct message back, and I'm thinking, this is awfully nice.
Yeah.
It was didn't have to do it at that time, but anyway, pretty cool to get a direct message from a 3-time Cy Young Award winner who is the only pitcher in the history of Major League Baseball to win a World Series game in 3 different decades.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
Anyway.
Texter real quick says,
my guy.
Says number 2 catcher in that team, Joe Nolan, lives here in St. Louis
That's
still,
right.
And he's out of Southwest High School, so that's cool.
I know Joe. I've run into him, not for a long time, but a few times. over the years here in St. Louis. Wonderful guy, really, really good catcher for the number 2 job, right?
Yeah.
And I was just looking up his numbers the other night because my curiosity was piqued by this. And I don't know that I don't think he was there, but there was a cluster of players that I missed when they were introducing them, and they didn't cut to them enough so I could see who they were. But yeah, I mean Joe Nolan, a big part of that team, plus Jim Dwyer, who was a Cardinals outfielder, was a big part of that team. So, and Tito Landrum was a big part of that team.
Showed up. You're right.
And he hit a huge home run in the ALCS. I take that back. The ALDS. Against the White Sox, managed by a young Tony La Russa. And Tito hit a monster shot that was like the biggest moment in the biggest game of that series.
It was big homer. You're right.
It really was. And Tito doesn't. Listen, I'll tell Cardinals fans who love Tito, he was very, very popular here. Tito Landrum.
Yes, he was.
He looks great. I mean, I forget what his age is now. I looked it up. I don't have it off. I don't remember. Speaking of old age, now I don't remember what his age is, but he's up there a little bit. He looks great. Not much has changed at all, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So there was a St. Louis and a Cardinals element to that. Even Hank Peters, the general manager at that team, St. Louis. So anyway, the other thing I wanted to get into now. Boy, we're almost at 5 o'clock. This is the 4 o'clock hour, sponsored by Ambassador Midwest Floor. Will Leach and I talked about Adam Wainwright quite a bit. If you listen to Seeing Red, follow it on Twitter, by the way, at Seeing Red Pod. But you can access it anytime at 590thefan.com or through the 590 The Fan app. And we talked about it, and I think Will and I agree. At this point, there's not much to say about Wainwright. Now, there are things to say, but there's not much to say about his performance. And there's a good news, bad news thing. The good news is that because the Cardinals have no hope of making the playoffs and haven't really had realistic hope in a long time, it doesn't matter if Wainwright pitches. And I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm just saying it doesn't matter. And as Will Leach pointed out, it's not like Adam Wainwright is blocking anyone from that rotation, because he's not, especially once they cleared out Montgomery and Flaherty. So he's not in anybody's way. The team's gone. I mean, they're gone as far as any kind of meaningful record. And so neither one of us have a problem with Adam Wainwright continuing to pitch in pursuit of career victory number 200. Now, let me tell you something. I think our listeners should know me by now about this, which is if the Cardinals had something on the line and they were in a postseason race, either to win the division or they were, on multiple fronts, either win a division or a wild card, and they were running Wainwright out there every fifth day to get clobbered, I would have a major problem with that, because at some point it's got to be about the team. If your team has put itself in position to win and you have a soon-to-be 42-year-old pitcher who's one of the greats in your franchise history, and that's not going to change. But if you have a team that really has some stuff on the line, you couldn't use him anymore. I mean, and if you did, then that would be a massive indictment of the manager, Ali Marmol, of prioritizing the wrong things. It would be a massive indictment of the Cardinals organization, period, because you can't have that. He's not a competitive pitcher anymore. I'm sorry, but he isn't. But it's okay, because they have nothing at stake, and it's not like Tink Hence has been at AAA all year, and he's been like ripping it up, and no one can hit him. And it's like, wait, he's clearly ready for the majors. They got to get Wainwright out of the way. You can't block someone like Tink Hence, but that's not the case. He's still in AA. In a scenario that involves some other starting pitcher next year, we might be talking about, not Wainwright, because he'll retire. I think so anyway. We'll be talking about, hey, don't block Tink Hence whenever you do. When he's ready, he's got a starting job in the big league. So nothing really is at stake. So let him try to get into career victory number 200. That's been his quest. You can talk about that if you want. Think like it's gotten kind of, and I said this on the air a couple times last year. I'm kind of burned out by the whole experience. The Waino experience has been exhausting this year, and a lot of it has just been the drama, and a lot of it has been it's one excuse after another. Either he makes or people in the media make for him. It just never ends. Just about with a few exceptions, every start this year kind of looks the same. With a few exceptions, yes. He had one little like 3-4 start phase where he wasn't bad, but he's not a competitive pitcher anymore. In spirit, yes. In terms of his physical ability and stuff, it's just not there. It's gone. Oh, by the way, it happens to every pitcher. Okay, so there's nothing new here. This has happened a million times in Major League Baseball. But, Friday night, then the new meme became, well, he's pitching really good, but boy, they get him with 2 outs. They got to find a way to help him. He's got to help himself. Got to do better with 2 outs. Oh, if it wasn't for those 2-out hits, and listen, I'm just tired of hearing this kind of stuff. Let me tell you something. Are his stats as a pitcher worse when there's 2 outs in an inning? Yeah, they are worse. Are they drastically worse? No. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm just pointing that out. I don't want to hear about, if it wasn't for his problems with the 2 outs, I don't want to hear it. The numbers against him when there's no outs are terrible. The numbers against him with 1 out are terrible. And the numbers against him at 2 out are even more terrible. But since when do we keep score that way anyway? You got to get 3 outs. I don't care if you're not going to do a good job getting them out with nobody out or with 1 out. Well, you're not going to have good numbers with 2 outs. And the fact they're a little worse doesn't really matter to me. The problem is he's going to be 42 years old on August the 25th. And among Major League starters that have worked at least 60 innings this year, and there's a lot of them, he's got the worst ERA, 7.81. He's got the worst strikeout rate, 12.2%, and he's got the worst swinging strike rate, 5.5%. So, but we hear about this. We hear about, it's a problem, if he can just finish these hitters off, he's get 2 strikes and they get away. He gets the first 2 outs. And it's just one little thing. No. On a lot of his starts, he's virtually defenseless. When you can't get batters to swing and miss, and you can't strike him out when you really need a strikeout, and you have these occasions where you walk too many, and you're also giving up home runs, and you got the worst ERA in the game. My point is not to be cruel. My point is I wish everyone, especially the media, would just have a reality check. This is who he is, and that's okay. Because Bob Gibson was bad in his final season. The great Walter Johnson was bad in his final season. Steve Carlton was bad in his final season and a quarter. Bob Feller, I read all the names a few weeks ago. There are so many great, Hall of Fame caliber pitchers who just got the stuffing knocked out of them in their final year or 2 in the majors. He's no different. It's okay. It happens. And I don't know why there's so many people that just want to sort of dodge the truth on this. Listen, he gave the Cardinals just a great run. Legendary Cardinals starting pitcher. In my opinion, the second best starting pitcher the Cardinals have ever had. And just the longevity of his stretch as a terrific major league starting pitcher, it was very, very impressive. Very, very impressive that he was able to be one of the best in the business for so long. But eventually, there's nothing much left. And that's where he is. We saw that late last season, and it had nothing to do. I got hit by a ground ball. I got hit on the leg. I couldn't. My approach, my stride was off. No. Sorry. No. And one thing after another, just there's no excuses to make. No, there are no excuses that make any sense whatsoever. It's just an unfortunate thing that happens to some of the greats. It could be hitters as well. They lose it. The miles catch up on them. They have nothing left to fend hitters off with, and they get hit, and they get hard, and they get hit often. It's as simple as that. And if you look at where he's been since last September, 20 starts, 7.81 ERA, and that's in 94 innings. And in his last 20 starts, again, including the last 4 of last year, or 6, I should say, he's been hit for a 358 average, a 408 on-base percentage, and a 547 slug. And he struck out just over 11% of the 458 batters that he's faced in these 20 starts. So why are we talking about, the 2-strike thing, the 2-out thing? Why are we talking about that? It's got nothing to do with it. He just can't pitch well anymore. And, it's okay to say that. It's okay to say that. And while you say it, you do what I do. Everybody's time is up eventually. If you're in the arena, if you're in the stadium, if you're a professional athlete, everyone's time eventually runs out. No one beats it. You can trick it for a while, which Wainwright has done, Rich Hill has done, Bartolo Colon was able to do. Oh, you can stay ahead of the obvious for a while. You can fight it off, fend it off. You can trick them for a while. But when you get to the point where you got no swing and miss stuff whatsoever virtually, and you just can't get people out, there's nothing that you really have that works effectively against them anymore. Oh, here and there, yeah. Maybe a little bit here and there, but I'm talking about in general. It's okay to acknowledge that the stuff is gone. And when you do that, like I was about to say, you do that the way I do it, but you also note that that's not going to change his status as a legendary Cardinals player who arguably is the second best starting pitcher behind Gibson in franchise history. None of what he's doing in his final year changes that. He is there. He should be honored. He should be recognized for his greatness and all that he's done for the Cardinals. He should be recognized for, as a human being, all that he's done in the community, not just here, but all over the place. It's amazing stuff. But it's okay. It's just okay. You're not an evil human being if you acknowledge, look, his stuff's gone. It's as simple as that. And it's like, will everybody, media people especially, quit like every single time we get another reason? Oh, if he could just do this little thing or do that little thing. Oh, no, he doesn't have his stuff left, okay? It's as simple as that. I don't know why we feel like we got to make stuff up. What's the point of making something up? People watching these games can see the state of his pitching. And it's an inevitable thing that has ensnared and has left a lot of aging pitchers damaged, great ones, I mean great ones, in their final seasons. It's okay to talk about that. We can be adults, okay? We can be grown-ups. It's okay to talk about it. You don't have to belittle them. You don't have to attack them personally. It's okay just to acknowledge the obvious, and I don't know why that is so damn hard for people that actually have a job to offer objective reporting and analysis. I don't know why this is such a hard thing to do. I know they like him. I know he's great to the media. I get it. But that doesn't justify it, in my opinion. Tell the truth, play it straight, and acknowledge what we all see, but some of us, not me, some of us are afraid to talk about. I'm beyond burned out on that kind of stuff, but I still want Adam Wainwright to do well down the stretch as well as he can. I hope the Cardinals score a bunch of runs for him, and I hope that we'll see him late in the season be at number 200. I think that's totally cool because there's nothing really on the line for this team, and he's not blocking the path of a young starter who's ready for the majors. Sorry for the long-winded thing there, but I had to unburden myself.
The one thing that you said and Will said in the podcast too, what you just said there, the last statement, he's not blocking anybody. So it's not like, let one of these kids. No, there isn't that aspect
No.
of this. It really isn't.
No.
And Texter, and this is what you don't want, but this is the sentiment, and a lot of us have it. I feel for Wainwright because he looks bad. That's the text.
I feel bad for him too, but then again, listen. We should feel bad for him, but then again, he opted to put himself through this despite the warning signs late last season that he was losing it. Maybe he had lost it. He also decided to go compete in the WBC. He had the right to do so, but he decided to do that. And while he was there, he got hurt, and that made what was going to be a very daunting challenge. It made it even more difficult because now his big delay before he could actually pitch for the Cardinals. And truth is, he rushed back. He probably needed more time to rebuild his leg strength, but he wanted to get back, and so he gets what he wants. I think it's like that with most legendary players, not all. But listen, he made the voluntary and enthusiastic decision to pitch in the WBC. That didn't help him. He made the decision to come back. He didn't have to. So, yeah, I feel bad for him, but I also think a lot of this could have been, not avoided entirely. Could have been mitigated a little bit. And I'd also think that, sometimes you just got to realize it ain't there, and you got to walk away. But that's easy for me to say. You know what I'm saying?
I get that.
I'm not saying people shouldn't feel bad for him, but this is what he wanted. And this is what he was going to do no matter how many parts of it were not a good idea. And he wanted to do it. And now after games, every single time, there's something else. Now it's, I was great other than 2 outs. No, stop it. Please, stop it.
I tell you.
We're able to watch the game, okay? Mm-hmm. Stop it. Anyway.
The 2 out thing, I was like, come on. He doesn't have anything. He can't get anybody out. Here's what I really don't want this to happen, but I see this playing out, Bernie. He took on a Colorado lineup that's not very good the other night.
Especially on the road.
Yes, and Waino strength over the course of his career has been pitching at Busch Stadium, pitching at home. He gave up 11 base runners in 3 innings. I don't know what else will be handed to him any better than that opportunity to try and get a win. Mm-hmm. And I really kind of look at this and I go, I don't think he's going to get 2 more wins. And that's a terrible thing, but I don't think he's going to get there because he just, as we said, he has nothing. So what happens now at the end of the season when you go, oh, yeah, Adam Wainwright, the guy who couldn't get to 200? That becomes more of a statement that's associated with him than some of the greatness. Fair or unwarranted, but I think that may end up happening here, which is how people will remember him a little bit more than how great he was. I know it's kind of a silly statement to make, but I know people will go, yeah, he couldn't get to 200 wins, though. All he needed was 2, and he couldn't get to 200. That was really bad.
Yeah, and that'll stick to him for a while. It will.
That's what I don't necessarily like will come out of this, because I feel it trending that way very strongly right now, because I think everybody and a lot of people were very guilty of this. Oh, it's going to be 199 tonight. It's Colorado, for crying out loud. He's going to get a win tonight.
I thought he would.
I was hoping he would too. But after watching it, I go, oh my gosh, it just continues to get worse and worse. I don't know where he finds another win this year. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do.
He'll get a start against Oakland, I think.
There you go. I forgot about that. Thank you.
And, Will Leach said something on the podcast, and I'm not, the last thing I'm doing is acting like a schoolmarm. I don't want to act like a schoolmarm incorrect Will. Mm-hmm. But Will kept talking about how he's coming in for 2 more games against the ones against Oakland, which is coming up soon, and then ones against Kansas City. Kansas City's not going to be here, so I have no idea what the hell he's talking about. I say that with love. That's my buddy. So I think the Cardinals have to pitch. Maybe he's going to the one in Kansas City. I don't know. Maybe he'll get the Royals and he'll get the A's. I don't know. But they got to score a bunch of runs for him, and it has to coincide with a night where he's got decent stuff. and we've seen a few of those times this season. They got to score a lot of runs, and he's got to have at least decent stuff where if he pitches 5 innings to qualify for a win, he gives up 3 runs, something like that. I thought the other night could have been one of those nights, but he had nothing and had not a damn thing to do with 2 outs other than the fact that that's when the hits came.
Right.
But the hits were coming. Like you said, hey, left-handed batters the other night, he faced left-handed hitters 9 times. They got him 8 times. 6 hits and 2 walks. 8 out of 9 left-handed batters reach. It doesn't have a damn thing to do with it being 2 outs in an inning. He doesn't have the stuff anymore,
right.
Okay? Right?
Agreed.
And 2 of the hits were doubles. Left-handed batters were responsible against him. Only 9 plate appearances for 4 runs against them. And then spending the whole post game in the media. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a shame. Boy, he had tough luck with the 2 outs. No. His stuff is gone, okay? It's okay to be an adult and say that.
Painful to watch.
It is. And I get tired of hearing the 2-strike thing. Yeah, their numbers with 2 strikes, their starting pitchers as a group, they're not good compared to the other 30 teams. But when you've been in the bottom 5 or 6 in ERA the entire season for a rotation, you're going to get it tells us you're going to get slapped around no matter what the situation is. So I get tired of the 2-strike thing. I just get tired of hearing about that. You're not good. I mean, this is like their starting pitchers as a group. You're not good. That's why they get hits with 2 outs. Because you're not very good. Nobody wants to talk about that. That's the baseline reason for this. You just don't put hitters away. And your manager let the defense collapse. So the ball's in play all the time, and maybe last year some of those 2-strike hits are outs, but they're not outs this year, and I'm not going to give you that excuse because you don't got the swing and miss. You don't have a defense behind you, which is not your fault, but it's the manager and the front office's fault. So what do you want me to do? I'm just not going to have a pity party. I'm sorry. Their whole run prevention thing has just been broken up into pieces this year. You're not good, so yeah, your 2-strike numbers aren't going to be good because what is good? You know?
That's 100%. It really is. He is scheduled to go Friday in Kansas City at Kauffman.
Oh, it's okay. This Friday, and then he'll probably face Oakland.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Royals at home, though. I mean, I'm probably remembering games that I want to remember, but they've been clobbering some teams over there lately, even though their record's terrible.
Right.
You know, I think I could be wrong about that, but I'll check it out.
Again, if it's not there, I don't know where we're going to get one. You mentioned Oakland. I forgot Oakland was still on the schedule, but still. I just hope he gets them and we don't have to talk about it anymore and don't even have to bring that up. But it's leaning that way. So we'll see that he can't get the 2 to get to 200.
Yeah, I'm looking at Kansas City. I was just curious. I really was curious. Where are you, KC?
KC's asking that same question. Where are we?
Yeah, I know. The record's awful. But, looking at them in terms of, let me just go for a shorthand number here. Looking at where they are at home. Yeah, not too good. I thought maybe lately they were. In fact, one other thing. Hold on. I know this is not essential information, so I'm wasting time, but you know how I get. And actually since the All-Star break, they're a little bit above average at home offensively.
Okay, there you go.
Nothing imposing, but the numbers aren't bad. So I don't think that's going to be a walkover for him.
No, it won't. Exactly.
So anyway, I wish him the best the rest of the year, but I think truth telling is okay, and especially with all the praise he has gotten and he continues to receive because he's had a great career as a St. Louis Cardinal, and that does matter. But it doesn't mean that we have to just tell people crap that's not true. You know,
Yeah.
we got to draw the line somewhere. All right, we can tell the truth. It's all right.